presented by Scott Lanzer from Emerson Climate Technologies, and he's the marketing sales guru out of the Sydney office.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get name tags made, yeah. But he's going to talk about some applications and ways that you can deal with people like me on your staff. Enjoy your class. I have a present for you too.
Oh,
and I think
super.
if Dave does anything wrong, just throw it at him, okay?
All right, keep him awake there.
Well, that's a guarantee.
So, hello, my name is Scott Lanzer. It's great to be here today, to be part of this event, and hopefully at the end of this you'll come away with something and have some interest in really what we're doing with the SMS group. So, along those lines, anyone ever heard of Emerson before? Or okay, it's not. We don't make the VCRs and DVD players that you would buy at Walmart and things of that nature. We're actually, it's actually a conglomerate of different companies. Go ahead. Some of them you might recognize. We don't make a whole lot of consumer-based products, but InSinkErator's one. You might look at your garbage disposal and realize if you have an InSinkErator, that's actually one of them. We do have our friends from Liebert have a booth over here. They do basically air conditioning for computers and servers and things of that nature. I am in what's called the Climate Technologies Group. I started with Copeland in 1993 in engineering. I had worked in engineering for 7-8 years and then went into really flying around the world and doing technical seminars for different end users, contractors, things of that nature on our product. And from that, then they took me and put me in the dark side of sales and marketing. And so I've been able to really take our industry and kind of give them some nuts and bolts marketing, what I call it at least, meaning that it's a flyer that actually contains good information that a service tech needs, a person that would come to your house, service, whether it's refrigeration, air conditioning, things like that, but give them something that's just not a flyer that ends up in the trash, that sort of thing. So my side of marketing is trying to make it technical enough that they'll want to keep that flyer, or at least want to pursue a little bit more information out of that. So to understand a little bit about what I'm going to talk today is that Emerson Climate, we make a component. The component is called a compressor. And I had done this seminar maybe a few months ago or so, and it's kind of hard to explain an air conditioning system, what would be in your house, without having a diagram. It's tough to do it in the air. So to understand a little bit about this slide, and again, I'm not going to make you a technician, but the evaporator is typically what's in your house. This would be what sits on top of your furnace, and this is what helps to make that cold air happen in your house if you have air conditioning. This is what sits outside, the condenser. That sits outside of your house. This is what has the shrubs growing around it and all the ivy and people trying to hide it by putting boxes and everything around that device. But in honesty, to understand how an air conditioning system works, really simple, is that what I'm doing here is I'm taking heat out of the house by absorbing that heat. And of course, by absorbing heat, it makes it feel cold. The air feels cold, right? If you take heat away from something, it feels cold. That's what's happening. So I'm absorbing the heat into the evaporator, and then I'm rejecting that heat out of the condenser. So if you have a condenser outside your house and it's full of bushes and leaves and ivy growing all over it and whatever else, plywood leaning up against it, you try to want to remove that stuff, because if this can't reject the heat, then this can't absorb the heat. And then therefore you don't have much air conditioning effect within your house. A little tip there for a homeowner. But for us, in order to do that, we have to move this heat from one desired place to an undesired place. So again, we want to take that heat from an undesired place inside your house and move it to a desired place and reject that heat. And that's where the compressor comes in. The compressor compresses that gas. You might have heard the term Freon before, refrigerant maybe. Your refrigerator works the exact same way. So by causing those different pressures, we allow for that refrigerant to move, and we can move the heat from one part to another. Okay. So through all of that, we look at all our different marketing out there, and we say, well, how can we make our compressors to be not only replaceable within themselves, so if you have a unit that you have a compressor in and the compressor goes bad, we would like to replace or have the homeowner or contractor replace that with one of ours, right? That keeps our install base. And then if there's a competitor, we'd like to replace that as well. So we came out with a variety of different marketing and all that kind of stuff. But really, after looking at it, I said, well, what if I make an app that is a cross-reference? So again, kind of product-oriented, that I can take a compressor, look it up, and tell me exactly what compressor replaces that compressor, whether it's a former, maybe obsolete model that we had, Copeland, or maybe a competitor out there that they had that installed that now we can, because of our service channel, we can kind of recommend a compressor replacers. So as that happens, that's how the whole idea starts to develop in producing these apps. Good. So all these apps, recently up in Chicago, we were actually for what they call the ASHRAE. It's our big, really the largest trade show for our industry. They actually rent out all the McCormick Center up there in order to do that. We won for our suite of apps called the Mobile Toolbox. We won the award for software up there this year, so the Gold Award. So kind of nice to kind of look at how the app's developed. XREF is just basically, and I'll go to each one of these. XREF is basically a compressor cross-reference. Fault Finder is based back on understanding product specifications, and I'll talk a little bit more about that one. XCheck is actually a cross-reference for our metering devices, our flow devices. PT chart gives that personnel a pressure-temperature correlation in order to determine different system saturation, superheat, and conditions of the refrigerant within the system. White Rogers is actually a company that makes thermostats for us, but this is their cross-reference. And eSaver is kind of based around a homeowner having questions for replacement options on systems. That's good. So first up is XREF. So we had all this good information in books. The problem with books and literature, what happens to them as soon as they're printed? Obsolete. Yeah, they're obsolete, right? They're outdated. And if you send these out to any one of our 4,000 different wholesaler branches, it's quite expensive to keep doing that mailing on a regular basis. But if you produce an app, what's it cost really to update the app? The person's time to download the new update on their phone, right? It doesn't cost so much on the front end as far as having to go and work with a company to be able to produce or set up a new database for that. Very cheap compared to mailing out and producing all this literature that would go out and mail to our customers. So as you look at this, it's real simple to kind of work this app. And these are all available free through the various, whether you have the BlackBerry or the iPhone or the Android, all through those third-party different marketplace or iTunes or what's BlackBerry App World, something like that. So BlackBerry's still around? Barely. It's been tough for them, right?
Yeah.
But what we did was we said, well, we'll have an initial, you put the initial compressor model number in, you do a search, and really this is searchable first 3 digits, and then it swipes across for different replacement options. You could have up to 3 different replacement options for that compressor. So now what you have there is simply put the contractor can go out, look at the compressor that he currently has, hey, I need a new compressor, and boom, he can look that up, and he can actually go where to buy, which will do a proximity search of, you know, who has that in stock, that sort of thing. So really that's where this has kind of led to really understand those apps. So good. So through that, this is as of last month's data, mature. So essentially put, when you look at the different platforms, and I don't know if you can really see the color differences, can you? Okay. Android would be in the blue, the Apple would be in the red at the top, and BlackBerry's down at the bottom. You know, you're looking roughly about, what, just quick add, about maybe 9,000, 8,500, 9,000 different downloads for that simple app. And you think for our industry, it doesn't have, you know, car crashes, right? Music downloads. That's not bad. It's not bad for an industry that, you know, it's a very static thinking industry that it's just a compressor in the system. But again, for us, from marketing side, what does this really mean to me? It means that, well, we have almost 9,000, maybe 10,000 this month of our end users going out and using this app. And with SMS's help, we're able to track this, and our retention is like 89%, meaning that when people download our apps, 89% of the time they keep the app on the phone. That's outstanding compared to most people that would go through it and be like, oh, this is worthless. How many do you delete off your phone, right? But again, when you look at that, that means that every day our marketing is getting out there in front of someone, looking at the Emerson logo, looking at the Copeland product, understanding, and hopefully, my thought on aftermarket is that if I can, again, as you sell compressors, you would have some sort of replacement on those compressors. So your aftermarket's going to grow because your install base grows. But if I can, for lack of a better term, maybe steal or replace my competitors with our compressors, that's almost like a new sale, isn't it? That's an install base that I didn't formally have, but I'm able to close that gap between, new OEMs, your carriers, your Reams, your Goodmans, your Trains, your Lennoxes, your Yorks, Nordyne, all those guys that sell systems. Again, those compressors, closer to that line we get, that's like a new sale. Okay. So as you look, kind of on the marketing side, we came out with several different flyers. There's always trade shows that happen earlier in the year that we get huge spikes because we're handing out literature on this. QR codes. Kind of looks like a little gray and white dot matrix that you can now scan into here, and it drops you right into the app world in order to get that. So again, kind of working with that, broken down, you can kind of see as the trade show hits, you can see the huge spikes and where the numbers are. So good. So along those lines, I said, well, okay, that was a pretty easy one. It was based mainly around just product cross-referencing and understanding that product. I said, well, one question I always get is, hey, I need a new system. Can you recommend something to me, right? You ever hear those questions before? And I just got a couple out on the show. People come up, hey, I know you deal with air conditioning and refrigeration, and I need a new system. What do I need to look for? Okay, well, I have a few questions for you. And really, this whole app is designed around our contractors. Make it easier for them to recommend systems. So what I said was, here's the scenario. Contractor goes out to the job site. Homeowner says, hey, I need a new system. I got a problem with the old one. Or the contractor does some type of evaluation. The system says to the homeowner, hey, you need a new system. Homeowner says what? What do you recommend, right? What do you have available? What are my options? And the contractor says, okay, well, by using this app, which is third party, developed by us, I can put this information in and be able to tell you really what your annual cost savings is going to be for different systems. Okay, Dave. Looking at this one, about 6,000 or so, 5,000 roughly, probably 6,000 by the end of this month. This one took off again, and these are basically about a year old or so. So again, in an industry that's rather stagnant, we're still getting some good downloads. Now, what's a download worth? There's a lot of different definitions out there as what people think and statistics and all these marketing studies as to what it's downloaded. To me, it means that someone's with a retention rate of 89, 90%. It means that they're looking at their phone, they're looking at our logo, and really for marketing, that's good stuff, right? And for the price we've been able to work with SMS, upfront cost of these things, it's fantastic marketing right off the bat that we can get really in front of our users out there for this new technology.